Hi there, Kate Bora and Fiona Pearman joining you this week for our live. And this month, we're digging into the conversation around resilience. And we really want to look at in this video what is resilience and why it matters, especially in a post-COVID world. I think expectations have raised personally and professionally beyond COVID. COVID and the lockdowns allowed many of us to be able to do things. We had a lot more freedom to integrate our personal and our professional worlds. And so, what's curious as we start to, I guess, navigate back beyond COVID, and we see some pressure coming from organisations, probably some limitations from some organisations around the freedom we have during our working hours. We're seeing a lot more pressure come down on people, a lot of demands coming in, and increasingly seeing a lot of things like burnout, stress, overwhelm. And so, this conversation around resilience is really critical for everyone when we think about work, health, safety, well-being, and really just our overall ability to navigate work and life with more flow.
Yeah, I think the exciting piece is that this conversation is live in many organisations right now, whether we're in round tables or workshops or online with people. There's a lot of conversation around burnout, resilience, really thinking about what does it take to be resilient in today's work environment. And that's why we really like to start with, well, what do we mean when we talk about resilience? It's quite a big word, covers a lot. And so to start to get some clear definition around that, I think is helpful as we think about ways in which to better fortify ourselves and support ourselves. And so what we like is this sense that resilience is our ability or our capacity to recover from difficulties and grow stronger. And it's the and growing stronger piece here that I think really needs to be at the fore. If we're talking about resilience, it's not just that I can cope with difficult things. It's that actually challenges almost are the catalyst for me expanding my capacity and being able to deal with it. And we think of resilience as being multidimensional. It's not one thing. We often start with the physical pieces of resilience. What do I need to do to support my body physically? Because we know that if we don't take good care of our physical well-being, a lot of other things are likely to fall apart as well. And so this is going to be different for all of us, but there are some fundamentals like, am I getting the right amount of sleep? Am I looking after myself from a diet point of view? Or am I getting some exercise? What does my downtime look like? How am I making sure that I feel resourced physically so that, as I'm tackling some of the things that are more tricky, I don't just sort of fall apart?
Yeah, and I think the physical resilience is really foundational, probably something that many of us are used to thinking about and talking about. It's useful then to think about resilience from a few other dimensions. And the next one is emotional resilience. This is how I manage my feelings, how much exposure I potentially have to loved ones, how cared for I feel, the conversations, the connections that I have. Really useful in terms of heart connection. And again, we know that all these aspects of resilience really integrate into each other and feed each other. The next is mental resilience. So really thinking about our mental thought patterns, any rumination patterns. And again, sometimes there's some signals, particularly in the mental load that we're carrying, and it's useful to think about my strategies for mental resilience, and we'll talk about that much later. But equally, the fourth aspect here is spiritual resilience. And here we talk a lot about understanding your values, what's important to you in career and life, your purpose, for example. I think what's really important when we have the conversation around resilience in organizations is that we go beyond self-care, that sort of surface level conversation that we had very early in COVID around, what are some of the things you're doing to take care of yourself, and, yoga, green smoothies, eating healthily, painting, any of the surface level strategies. And it's not that they are not important, they are. And it's important that we start to have conversations around some of the root causes that are driving maybe some of the repeating levels of stress that are operating in our life.
Yeah, I think that's a great reflection point for many of us. If we notice that despite doing a few of these things, we're still down that rabbit hole again, we're still feeling exhausted, we're feeling overwhelmed, and that's happening time and again, that's a good place to pause and actually be willing to do a bit of a deeper dive to understand what might be sitting below the surface. And we know that resilience is really important because it's something that fuels us. We see that resilience is really, it's like confidence in a way. It's something that the more attention we pay to it, the more we practice it, the more we're likely to build that capacity and capability over time. And so we see that as people embrace the idea of, I'm responsible here, it's my resilience, I'm taking care of myself, it supports us to meet those challenges. It means we have agency. It means that in this very uncertain, increasingly challenging world, we know that actually I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be able to figure it out. And so it gives us a dimension of self-responsibility and capability that I think really means we're willing to embrace rather than reject the notion of things being tough.
Yeah, I think for me, resilience means I'm more resourced to meet the challenges. It means that my life and world feels a little smoother. So maybe not so jagged, not so much of the highs and lows. I often like to think about resilience as the ability to even out, particularly some of the lows as we operate in the world. And increasingly important when we think about productivity, innovation in workplaces. Always important in terms of organizations' work health safety responsibilities as well. And, as leaders, we need to model healthy norms in order to be able to create the context and environments to have sustainable high performance. I think, I add the word sustainable to the high performance. Lots of organizations talk about high performance cultures. Um, but when it's not done in a sustainable way, that leads to burnout, that leads to bad decision making, which increases risk. And so there's some really good conversations, I think, for us to have as organizations around what it takes to have sustainable high performance and how do we resource individuals to be able to build their own resilience. And it's different for everyone. Different strategies will work for different people, and different strategies will work for different points in our life.
We're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation and you know someone in your network who'd benefit from it, love you to share it or tag them below. If you'd like to see more of this, we've got hundreds of these videos on our YouTube channel, Core Confidence, and we'll link to that. And you can also hear all of our alumni talking about their experiences in our programs and the difference that makes and ways in which their resilience has been strengthened. And when you're ready to go deeper with your relationship with Core Confidence, you can visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.